I hope that we leave here with a sense of collective action as to what we need to do at the federal level. We have within our power, as you've heard here today on two very powerful panels, we have within our power the ability to take steps at a national level that will greatly reduce the chance that any community has to go through what Newtown has gone through, and greatly reduce the numbers of families throughout cities and suburbs, rural areas across this country who have to deal with the everyday tragic loss of life that comes from gun violence since that horrible day in December. We have within our power those policy changes. And so let me tell you what I believe, and I think it's what both Dick and I and our delegation believe. What we're going to be bringing to Washington is we approach go time, and we are in the hour of decision in Washington, D.C. Over the next several weeks, the committees of cognizance in the Senate will be reporting out legislation that we're going to have a chance to vote on. Members are going to be making decisions on which side they stand, on the side of the status quo and the gun lobby, or whether they stand on the side of change, on the families who are represented here today. We're going to make those decisions. And when it comes to my voice, here's what I'm going to argue for. I'm going to stand up and say that no private individual in this country should have access to military-style assault weapons and 30-round magazines. That if a gun was designed to kill people, then it probably should be the hands of professionals who has it in their job description to do that. I'm going to argue for a school safety discussion that I think speaks truth to what we've heard here today. That if we're going to put police officers in our schools, let's do it the right way to make sure that they are facilitating a positive school culture. And let's acknowledge that the most important thing we can do is make schools a welcoming place where no one feels ostracized, where no one feels disconnected, where everyone is welcomed with the kind of positive behavioral supports that make schools positive, safe places to learn. And we're going to make this simple argument, that every single child, individual, and family who needs and wants access to the mental health system of this country should get it not as a matter of the amount of money that they have in their pocket, but as a matter of right of living in the most powerful, affluent country in the world. If we can have this common sense discussion about guns and about school safety and about mental health, which, by the way, I think is where 70% of the American public is. There are extremes on both sides of all of these agendas, but 70% of the American public believes in the kind of common sense gun restrictions that we're talking about, absolutely thinks that we should make schools a safer place in the right way, and certainly believe that we should have universal access to mental health for people who want it. That's an issue that enjoys broad bipartisan support across this country. I think we can get that done. But it's this kind of turnout and this kind of support from the administration that makes that possible. Here's the last thing I'll say. We all view the last 30 days through our individual prisms. I'm one of these people that often sees these awful things happening in this world and wonders what lies inside of us, right? What's the inherent nature of each one of us? Are we good people that occasionally do bad things, or is goodness a learned behavior that lays on top of more evil things? And it's days like December 14th that cause us to think about that inherent question about who we are as a race, as a species. As awful as that day was, it answered that question once and for all for me. 10 minutes of mental illness that masqueraded as evil in that school, that then was layered on top with thousands of actions of heroic humanity, whether it was a principal running to the gunfire to try to stop it as other people were running the other way, whether it was a paraprofessional wrapping her hands around a young boy in her charge to shield him from the bullets, whether it was the millions of people across this country and this world who sent teddy bears and letters and phone calls and gifts to the community, or whether it's the families from Newtown and from Bridgeport and from New Haven and from Hartford who could have just slunk back and instead have stepped forward to try to make a change. That's who we are. We're good. We're great. And there's no 10 minutes of massive destruction that can erase that truth. That's why I think we'll get something done when it comes to gun violence. That's why I think we'll get something done when it comes to mental illness, because in the end, our better instincts do win out. Having Vice President Biden here today, having Secretary Duncan, is further confirmation that we're going to be able to get something done. Having Dan Malloy's amazing leadership in Hartford is further confirmation that Connecticut will lead the way. Thank you all for being part of an amazing conference. We are going to take a slight break before we welcome to the stage those that will introduce Secretary Duncan and the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden. Thank you for a great conference today, everyone.